PJNet.TV, 9 p.m. almost on the East Coast, and it is time for PJNet.TV Special Edition. We are recording, streaming on 9 platforms. Running bumper, chat room waiting, switching to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome to PJNet.TV. I'm your host, Coach Prasek, and we have a very special episode tonight. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is our guest that we had scheduled for tonight has been ill today and didn't quite feel up to it. So Sunbelt Girl is in the process of rescheduling Jackie to come visit us at a future date. But it worked out really good because Coach hadn't had a lot of rest. Been working on something, and I am honored to bring my partner in this idea on board, who will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Folks, don't worry, it's not going to be a solid hour. It's going to be,
thank goodness.
So JD, I don't know if you've had any rest or not, but I haven't, and I wanted to use this time to thank you for, JD, folks, has been the tip of the spear experimenting with something new that we're doing, and it turns out it's going to be bigger and better than we thought. JD, tell folks what in the world you're doing.
Well, Coach, you and I both have a techie background. I've got an EE and a degree in computer science, and just, you got more degrees than Carter's got liver pills. But we were thinking about it and said, you know what, the neat thing about podcasts, and Coach, you've mentioned it a few times, pod in the podcast is play on demand. So folks can consume that when it's convenient for them. But what I've realized as I've been blogging for about a year and a half now is that there are lots of demands on everybody's time. And while I love and appreciate everybody that reads my blog each week, and that's several hundred readers a week, and I get wonderful contents and great participation in everything, that requires each person who reads my blog to spend 5 to 7 minutes of dedicated time doing nothing but reading and understanding what I've written. And while I view that as a humbling thing, it's a great honor that people will invest their time in me. I also recognize, and I was thinking about our friend Becky Lindsay in California. Mm-hmm. She loves PJNet, loves to be on PJNet and be a part of the live chat room and things, but she's in the middle of making dinner when she's doing it. So, people are busy. And if there's a way that I could help my readers, help my followers hear my information rather than have to sit and read my post each week, I thought, what a great idea. So I kind of tossing ideas with my friend Mark here, and we hit upon the idea, boy, if we could just, make it work, wouldn't it be nice if we could podcast or have an audio version of our blog post each week? And then people could listen to it when they're driving to the office, or when they're going out to lunch, or when they're taking the children to school. Just whenever it's convenient for them. If they're making dinner, that's fine. You can feed your soul as you're preparing to feed your face. So it would work out. And of course, it's great to have an idea, but to have a wonderful friend with technical acumen to make that happen is where the blessing comes in. So more than just 2 Jamaicans and a chicken. Coach put the science and technology behind it, and this week we're launching a trial using this week's blog, and I'm looking forward to collecting the data and see what it's doing. So far, so good, but Coach, I'm going to turn it over to you and kind of let you talk about the magic behind the scenes here. Okay. You're the Wizard of Oz, buddy.
Well, you've set it up pretty well, so I'm going to repeat some of this just for emphasis. Not that you didn't say it right, but there I have been in this journey of connecting with Christian writers, Christian authors, Christian bloggers. I have found I'm not a reader, to be honest. I don't read much, but of course, in preparing for the program here, you have to, and so I'm reading these blogs. And I'm loving the content, but here is the problem. And you said it, I'm going to say it differently. In order to read a blog, you have to stop everything else. You can't read a blog and mow the grass. You can't read a blog and wash the dishes. You can't read a blog and anything. Okay? So I began to realize that the world has changed a lot. Now, 50 years ago, that might not have been as big of a deal. But in today's culture, we've got to compete for people's time. So I began looking at how can we make this an audio book. Oh, by the way, you don't even know this, JD. I spoke to Ken Edwards last night, and he told me that audio book sales very often outpace the printed version.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that. So you can tell. So I had looked at it, I've had it on the back burner for some time, a text-to-speech engine. In other words, I literally went to JD's blog, copied the text of the blog, pasted into the engine. Now and then you press submit, and out comes a voice. Well, it's not quite that easy. Okay, you have to, like when you say cross W ranch, you've got to phonetically spell things. You've got to also add some commas. But this text-to-speech engine is not a free service. It doesn't cost much. But the quality of the voice is almost human. It's very close. And what I then do is take the final product and then do some post-production and add pauses. I also richen up the bass. The other thing that's, I think, important that will make a big difference is I put some music behind the voice, and that tends to smooth out that voice. Okay, and spent hours going through our music library that we are, by the way, licensed to use for any purpose we want. So this week was the experiment, the prototype. I'm actually going to put a link in the chat room, and I don't mind if you visit that link, because I just want to call your attention. Basically, this is JD's blog, and it's this week's edition. And you will notice that when you bring up that page, there is a small icon that is a speaker, an audio icon. You can literally press that. That is a link, and it will open up and play the audio version of it. Now, then we started looking at podcast platforms. Folks, there are so many of them. So many. Yet they're all very much, in many ways, they're the same. You put a link in social media. What we're looking for is that you get the little picture, a little square picture, a visual. And when you click on it, some interesting things happen depending on the platform. In almost all cases, in every case, you are being taken to the platform that the podcast is on, whether it be SoundCloud or Captivate or Anchor FM or something like that. On Twitter, you can play it right there in line by just pressing play. You're not taken anywhere. You don't open a new tab. And this is important because I think that on social media, people don't go to Facebook or Twitter to find other places to go. They want to stay there and consume the social media content. So this is a way, by having it playable in line, it doesn't take away from your social media experience. Now I'll let you talk a little bit now. We'll tag team a little bit. I could go on for another 20 minutes, but I won't.
No, you're dead on, Coach. I think an important thing to point out to folks, especially folks in our chat room who know me and know what I sound like, kind of Elmer Fudd on speed. but the voice that Coach has developed or identified and is using, and it should be pointed out there's both male and female voices, and they both work extremely well. But as almost every author I know, every writer I know, Coach, and we talked about this, uses Word or whatever publishing platform we're using. And we always play back what we've written because the ear is better attuned to finding errors and mistakes than the eye because our minds trick us because we read way ahead and we actually scan. We don't read each word, we just scan across each word. That's why many of you have seen this Cambridge University study where if you leave the first and last letter of a word in their correct places, you can jumble all the other letters and people can still understand that word. And that's because the mind just scans ahead. It's the way God made us. But the problem with those voices are they are very monosyllabic in that each syllable is pronounced and it speaks in a monotone manner. And what that's called, and Coach, if I get this wrong, forgive me because it's been a long time since I did digital design work. But basically, a signal is called clipping. So instead of being a nice, smooth kind of a waveform, it's up, down, up. It's a digital signal. So it's on and off. And that's where that happens is called clipping. And that's why you get that staccato voice. And that's kind of tough to the ear to listen to. So all synthesized voices will be that way. And there's, it's just the nature of the beast. But what Coach has done is he's done his audio magic. And like I said, 2 Jamaicans and a chicken. And he's made that voice sound much more humanistic. Yes, it's still monotone. Yes, you can add commas and you can phonetically spell words so that they're pronounced the correct way because there's some machine learning that can take place, but Dragon Naturally Speaking and things like that. But those are programs that take years to learn. Well, this is something that every voice is different, and every listener is different. So this is a synthesized voice. Why did I think that's such a great thing, Coach? And I'll just add my 2 cents here. It's not the right answer, but it's JD's answer. And that is that I spend between 4 and 6 hours writing a blog post. In addition to that, there's prayer time as I pray on what to write. There's research time to make sure I write accurate, complete information. There's production time, getting it up on the website and doing the MailChimp and getting it sent out to the hundreds of subscribers and all these things each week. All of that takes time. Well, time is the one thing none of us have enough of anymore, it seems. And Coach, we talked about it, and I'll let you explain it because you do a better job than I do. But a synthesized voice, you're using that to read out, if you will, the blog post is like a McDonald's hamburger.
Exactly.
And I'll leave it at that. Coach,
exactly.
Take it from there.
Anybody that listens to this is going to think, although it's one of the best I've ever heard, and we want to make it sound as good as we can, it's never going to be a natural voice. It's never going to have inflection. You can't fry your words like Zig Ziglar does. It will never have that human warmth and intimate characteristic. So it's a compromise. Why compromise? Well, the alternative is to voice over each one. Well, voiceover artist, if I got the best deal in the world, you'd be looking at $100 per episode. I know that voiceover artists typically get $500, $600, and even $700 to do a voiceover. That's not going to happen. That's cost prohibitive. But here's my question. Okay, so there's several things. The scriptures say that the word of God does not return void. We're going to have Christian, Christ-centered, kingdom edifying, exalting content. The fact that it's a computer voice, I am taking God at his word, that his word does not return void. But let me ask you a question. Okay, this voice obviously doesn't rate as high as a natural human talented voice. But I ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate a McDonald's hamburger? Now, I have asked this question to many people, and JD is dealing with some feedback, and I already know that people are going to object to the voice, saying, ew, that's not human. Okay, but McDonald's sells millions and millions and millions of hamburgers that nobody thinks are very good. I've never heard it. I mean, everybody ranks them below a 5, usually 2, 3, and 4. The thing is, we can mass produce this. I can take a blog and within 1 hour have it produced. This means we can mass produce them. Now, the other idea, when we don't want to run out of time, is the pjnet.tv website is about to radically change. Because now we are going to have, I basically have experimented with several podcast platforms. I don't like any of them. We are going to become a podcast platform, and we will be able to put information about the writer, the author of the blog. We'll have a little bio. We'll have links to their blog, link to their Facebook, link to their Twitter, and we will have playlists. And not only if you click on social media to listen to that podcast, well, of course that podcast will be playing, but there's the whole rest of the page down there. Well, what about other episodes from that writer? Okay, or you say you might click on JD's, listen to JD's, and down there at the bottom it says you might also like, well, then our other partners. You know, Dale Didway is jumping on board. Ken Edwards is close to jumping on board. I see the aggregation element that is absent on any other platform. What do you, JD? Do you? Well, you take it a minute.
No, I think that's a great thought, Coach. Anybody that is a writer or is hoping to become a published author realizes one of the most important sections of the book proposal is the marketing and your platform numbers. Everybody's got to know your platform. And I will tell you that my platform is about 11,000 people. Now, that's pretty small comparatively to Michelle Medlock Adams or Dale Didway, for example. I think Dale has like 27,000 Twitter subscribers or followers. I can't even compete at that level yet. But I'm not always competing against Dale Didway, right? So my platform numbers, and when you get into the analytics and you look at that, it actually looks fairly well to a publisher. Yeah, this guy's got a large enough audience that there's a potential audience sell-through that you could expect. And they use their calculations and their algorithms to figure out, well, how many books might this bubble sell? And that's how it works. But the part about the aggregation is it does more than that. PJNet, in becoming this aggregator of quality Christian content, actually enables the authors that use this, that avail themselves of this service opportunity. It allows us to cross-pollinate with each other's platforms. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to steal Michelle Medlock Adams' platform, people, because that's just not possible. But if they can see Michelle and listen to her just joy-filled inspirational messages like Michelle brings, And it's more than just our weekly blog or our daily blog or whatever we do. It's the PJNet episodes each week. You can go back and look at those. Now,
You can
yes,
listen
they're
to
on
those.
you. You can listen to them. I'm sorry, Coach, but you could go back and watch the video, right?
You can do that on YouTube. The problem
Okay.
with video, and we're tapping into the mobile environment. If you're in your
Hmm.
car and you're trying to watch PJNet TV, well, you're driving. You can't watch it. But if you go to YouTube to our channel to play them, you are taking in a lot of bandwidth. There's going to be some buffering. You're going to run out of signal. A podcast can operate on almost no signal. So you could literally tune into the podcast in your car, and unless you were on a very, very long trip across some rural areas, you would never lose contact with that audio. So this is it's very consumable, and I think that that's going to give us the edge. And I agree, JD. I hope that people will come to hear your podcast, but while they're listening to your podcast, they'll say, well, this guy's pretty good. I'll be able to say, oh, here, you want to listen to the rest of his stuff? Click here. And you can do this easily on a mobile device without distracting yourself if you're
Yeah.
driving. But I could also say, let me recommend Del Didway. You might like it.
Yep.
So we can promote each other. Well, we're not really promoting each other. We can benefit from the sum is greater than the total of the parts, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
And this is
And,
not possible on any platform out there. You just do your podcast and you promote it, and that's that. It goes
And
thud.
Yes, sir. And you touched on a very important selling point for me, Coach. Why I think this is such a great idea is it adds portability to my efforts, my blog. You can't go down the road driving to your next appointment reading my blog. I mean,
Right.
or I sure pray you
I hope not.
you know, but you can drive to your next appointment or drive into the office or whatever it is you have to do, listening to my blog. And as long as that is in an understandable, discernible voice and the message that God wants us to bring is coming through, then I think it'll ring true every time. And so I love the aspect of adding portability to my communications with my followers. I give them the option. And for those of you that follow me, and I appreciate each one of you, but you notice this week, you could read the blog just as always, you could listen to it, or you could view a video of the information. So we're giving you multiple avenues for you to consume the information as it best fits your lifestyle and your particular needs. And I'd love to say that I want everybody to listen to the audio at your convenience, just as they do, but then go to my blog itself and leave a comment. You know, those comments always help, and they certainly cheer me up. But realistically, I'm told in the industry that comments to a blog post, to an individual post, average in the 5% range. At best, 5% of the people that read it comment.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, wow, that's it is what it is. The data, data is what data is. But when I look at my post, and it's because of the level of engagement that I have with my readers and my followers, if you will, I average about 26% on average per month for each blog that gets commented on. So that's a pretty special thing. I feel blessed by doing that, but that's one of those things that it takes time, and I always feel like if somebody takes the time to leave a comment, I need to make sure I give as much time to give a comment back to them or to acknowledge their effort and thank them for it.
All right, we're going to have to take a little break because we got JD Wininger coming up at the bottom of the hour.
He's good. I like him.
But there's a question in the chat room that we have discussed this, and it has certainly come up. Well, why not just have the author read their blog and send the file to us, and we'll just put it on there?
If you're asking for my input, Coach, it really comes down to time. I could do that, and I certainly have the capability. If I can talk and video chat with you here, I could read my own blog and do that. But the fact is, it wouldn't happen in one take. It happened in about 6 takes because I'd mispronounced the wrong word at the wrong time, or I'd miss a sentence as I'm scanning and reading, or I'd be like Joe Biden and the teleprompter, and I am reading this blog because this is what this says to read. Mm-hmm. Pause, wait for the next page. Oh, so it would be that bad, folks.
And
I
even if you did,
that I could speak my entire blog verbatim, word for word.
Right.
I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. Computers don't make mistakes. Now, GIGO applies, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But
all I've got to do,
you good inputs, you can get good outputs from it.
When I have the text, an hour later, I've got a finished product. It's produced. It is consumable. There's a link. If you start recording, okay, although it would sound better, okay, there's certainly advantages. But the thing is now you've got to transport that recording to me. All right, well, that's a pretty big file, so forget email. Not going to happen. So then you've got to have some sort of FTP Dropbox. You've got to have the logistical mechanics of getting that file to me, and then your phone records it in a wave. I've got to convert it to an MP3, and then I've got to upload it to the platform. The transport logistics alone are actually more complicated than you think. And the fact is, many people that write just do not. They have a shyness of the microphone or the camera in many cases. So even the most camera shy person, we can take the words that they're using and we can project them outward. Now, by the way, bloggers, if you want to record your stuff, well, there are multiple podcast platforms out there that are free. So it's a great idea. Read your blog, upload it to one of those platforms, and get the word out. And why not do that? But for me to actually do it, in spite of the increase in the human quality, the intimacy, and all that, on the scales, it tears up the mass productability. I can crank this handle, and sausage squirts out the other end, and that's important. Final word, Jay, then we got to take a little break because you're coming on here in just a few minutes, and I want to get more of this.
Great. Yes, sir. I can stand some of that myself. I think during the break, Coach, if we could ask our friend Miss Barb Byers if she would just play the audio so that folks could listen to it and just hear what it sounds like if you've not done that yet. And in the next episode, Coach, I think we can take a few minutes and answer their questions, if that's all right with you, sir. That's
already been arranged. We're going to sign off, and you will actually see the other thing we didn't mention is I'm able to produce this as a video. They're about to play. It takes about 7 minutes, so we'll be back with Coach Prasek and J.D. Winninger right here on PJNet TV, and we're going to be taking a trip around the Cross W. Before I leave, I got to ask, what is this thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? Now, when was that? Folks, whatever the answer, we can never allow ourselves to be satisfied as we carry out the Great Commission with our answers to those two